flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Hopefully you all received the agenda that I sent again this morning, and we are looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Second?
John.
Okay. And then we'll just take a voice vote. Crystal?
Yes.
And Joe?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And then the next item is approval of the minutes from June 7th.
I did notice that we've got A, B, and C for the flag salute, and I think B and C are duplications, but I don't know if that really makes any difference to the minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we can certainly fix that.
Other than that, I would approve the minutes.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion. I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And a second?
I will second.
Great. So another voice vote, Crystal?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Thank you all. So I am going to share my screen and try to share this PowerPoint for you. Okay, I can't tell if you can see it or not, but hopefully somebody will tell me. Can you guys see that? Where is it?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, now we can.
Okay. I think I had intended to put some pictures on page 2 and I hadn't gotten around to it when the meeting needed to start. So the next one is totally blank, but here we are on the 7th of June for the Park Markers Subcommittee meeting. And our first item is reviewing budget information. And I have to tell you, this has been really hard to find. So I don't have, it's incomplete budget information, but it'll give you some sense of where we're headed, I think. So I was comparing this to standard outdoor interpretive panels, which I know you all have seen in parks before. They're usually mounted on a short pole and kind of at an angle often, or sometimes they're mounted on 2 legs of kind of like 4x4 posts. Those are typically about 2 to 3 feet, 2 by 3 feet large, and they range in size and price from $400 to $1,300, sort of depending on what quality material you use. When I was getting quotes for our panels, was looking at the high pressure laminate, which is probably the best choice for us because it does allow us to do 4 color. And I think if we're going to have art, we want to have that option. It is has a reasonably decent lifespan of 10 to 20 years. Basically they've sandwiched the image, the digitally printed image, in between layers of laminate. So fabrication for that, if we went with the size that I was getting quoted, which was 2 feet by 1.5 feet, is about $300 per panel. So if we were looking at a park marker panel that had the 4 sides and let's see, I guess it was yeah, 4 sides with 3 each on them. That math doesn't look right, does it?
No.
I don't know where I got that. So yeah, it should, but 300, about $300 a panel. So should be about $900 for our sides. I think I must have eliminated a side there, huh? And
Well, it'd be 60, it'd be like $4,800.
yeah, I think so. If we had 4 panels.
If you had four rows of 4 panels, yeah.
Right, yeah, 4 up and 4 sides of the column. I would note that only the art panels, I think, are going to end up being eligible for public art funding. I think the public art funding has to be used on actual artwork, so I don't think the interpretive panels will be something we can spend it on, but I think that the background structure, whatever that is, because it's holding the artwork, will be fair game for us to use public art funds. As far as the panel artwork goes, if we're commissioning artwork, the price is going to range from $0 to about $2,000. And the way I figured that was based on, well, the 2,000 was kind of at the high end, coming from size of the painting and kind of what a artist who was exhibiting in galleries that's doing that size of painting would charge. What we're really talking about, though, is probably less than that. This is digital artwork, and it tends to run a little bit cheaper. And I'm recommending we plan for an average of about $300 a panel, knowing that some of them, if we do student artwork, will be nothing. And we'll probably get more emerging artists or local artists when the price is low like that. John, you obviously have a lot of experience in art pricing and probably could comment on how close you think I am for what we would pay the artist for their image.
Yeah, I think that's a fair range, a fair estimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was kind of figuring that we'd have 1 to 2 student panels per marker, and 2 to 4 historical panels, depending on what we've got available to us in terms of information and photographs. And that sort of leaves us with 3 to 6 commissioned artworks from artists of various ability levels. So I'm figuring potentially we're paying $900 to $1,800 per marker for the art itself, for the images. And then, of course, having to produce all of the artwork, fabricate the panels for everything. So,
do you want some comments, or should we move on?
no, I'd love to have comments as we go.
Okay. Well, it's early probably to bring this up at this point, because we're not very far along the road here in terms of definition. But my experience with some of the young artists in the high school is that they would be quite capable of producing a great work product, which would be, to me, would be a strong argument for Milpitas. It would be ours and theirs. In that context, I don't think we would say you can do it for free. I think we would have to find a way to compensate either the school or the students. But I really push hard for involving our local community, in particular our schools, if we can, to them. But that's a footnote at this point.
Okay.
I would tell you that those that I've worked with so far, the digital aspect of it is really their strength. So,
good. Okay. Well, that may be then that we would get quite a lot, and perhaps we do a stipend or something that's you know, for student artists.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
And I know at one point you guys had talked about it being a contest type of a thing. And if that's the case, then maybe, you know, maybe there is a prize, but not everybody who submits something gets a prize, obviously.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, I think the panels, I have a pretty good handle on how much those would cost us. It's the base that's the difficulty. So as a reminder, the Alviso Adobe Water Tower is essentially what we're talking about here. It's an artist designed kiosk that but that one includes the artwork and the interpretation as part of the structure. And that was $20,000 inclusive. Okay. So I think we agreed last time that having an artist designed kiosk is probably beyond our budget right now. And so then I was looking for an off-the-shelf model. Obviously, lots of parks have interpretive signs, and you know, you can buy off-the-shelf kiosks and such for park interpretive signage, but there doesn't seem to be anything that looks like what we were looking at. Some other options that have occurred to me, and I haven't gotten full pricing on them yet. There is, you know, the possibility of a simple wood, you know, like a 12 by 12 timber, basically like a squared off telephone pole kind of a thing. I also saw an example, which I will show you when I stop sharing this, that shows smaller timbers. They're probably 6 by 6s that have been strapped together to form a column. It's pretty rustic looking, but I guess the plus on that one would be that it's easily obtainable material, and if it got damaged, you know, the frame could probably be replaced pretty easily. I started to look at cast concrete. I think cast concrete is going to be heavy, obviously. And so I don't think we wanted it, if we did that, I don't think we'd want it as tall as what we were originally talking about. But I do think that the height of the piece that we were looking at, which was probably about 6.5, 7 feet tall, was a nice height. I mean, it certainly is an eye magnet, as you had said last time, Joe. The other option that I can think of right now is commissioning a metal frame of some sort from a metalwork, you know, fabrication place, but not from an artist particularly. I think that that would be less expensive than if we went through an artist, and we could probably still get something that's quite nice. It would just be a little plainer and more generic in its look. So that's where I am right now with frames and installation. I know that's not super helpful for you guys. What I was looking at for, and this will obviously have to be refined, but I was kind of figuring out what's the cost per marker, and then what portion of that do I think is going to be eligible for public art funding? And then, you know, what other kind of funding might we need? Because when we go to the commissions and when we go to council, we're going to have to tell them, we think the project's going to cost this much. We think the public art fund can pay this. Here are our recommendations for other funding sources, potentially. So you see, I have a lot of TBDs there. That's not terribly helpful for us right now. My guess is we're going to end up somewhere in the $8,000 to $10,000 range, which was kind of what we were talking about earlier. So it's still a fairly expensive proposition at the size that we were discussing. But we may wish to make it, you know, maybe we make it a triangular shaped thing instead of a square, or, make it a little bit shorter, or make those panels smaller than what I had envisioned them to be. Then the column can be narrower and the panels can be smaller, which will make them cheaper. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a.
So Tegan, you say possibly it could cost around 8,000 to 10,000. That's assuming some guesswork, including the frame and the installation. Is that
That's
right?
everything. Yeah, that's including the whole thing going into the ground. Yeah. And I'm guessing that frame and installation are probably going to be eligible for public art fund monies, because public art fund pieces, typically whatever you're fixing the artwork to, if it wouldn't be there without the artwork, which this wouldn't be without the artwork, then it qualifies, and the installation costs as well. So I'm thinking we're probably looking at 6,000 out of the art fund for each one. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 7.
Yeah, well,
It's usually our average of what we spend for
Yeah.
the arts. Yeah. It's usually like $10,000 per project.
So, but I think that we had talked about, Becky, last time, because there are so many parks that need markers,
Yes.
trying to keep it as low as we can. Oh, I see Rosanna.
Sure.
raising her hand. Go ahead.
Oh, no, sure. I understand. Just saying it's hard to get away from that 10K mark.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very difficult for public art to get less than that. Rosanna, did you have something you wanted to share? So Leah, I'm going to need you to sort of monitor stuff, because I can see people's hands going up a little bit, but.
yeah, I'll make some comments if I may.
Sure, please, yeah.
So the panel fabrication, we know that that's actually low, because it's, we just did some math, and it's 16 panels at $300 a panel in fabrication. That's 4,800.
Yeah.
Say 5,000, just to make an easier number, since we're doing this orally. And if the panel artwork is 1,500, we're at 6,500, and then there's frame and installation. So, it's probably, and then, you're showing what other sources of funding may help from a budget point of view. But that left column, that second column, is the one where we're really trying to forecast cost, but right now, instead of 4,200 at the bottom,
It
we're
should
really
be
talking about 6,300. And then frame and installation to be determined. It was really hard to kind of make a decision last time. If we go with this design, one of the suggestions that I have is remember on the same page on the right, there was a different kiosk, and it had a roof on it. It's the one with it's the round column, in effect, with the red roof. One of the things that is about the kiosk that we're looking at the moment, and which is a design that actually allows a lot of alternatives in the use of the panels, what we put on panels. But I think that it's also kind of sterile in the sense of its appearance. It's very functional, but a little bit sterile. I wonder if we could, for example, put the roof that's on the one to the right, the red roof, onto something like that column to try and also possibly allow some decorative metalwork on the peak. In other words,
Joe, I'm going to stop sharing so I can share the pictures of the ones that you're talking about. So I'll come back to the PowerPoint in a minute, but I want to share what Joe's talking about here. Let's see.
And it was maybe the 5th page of that presentation.
No, I've just got the pictures here.
Yeah, it's the 5th page of that. It's the last, there were 3 pages 3, 4, and 5. And the ones we're talking about happen to be on page 5.
Okay. So let's see if we can share this. I think this is the one that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's the one to the, as soon as it comes up. Yes. Yeah, in other words, that roof and possibly, you notice, in other words, this particular, the top design, I'm not thrilled with the circular design, but the top design I find really allows some additional ways to produce an artistic appearance, I guess is the thing that I'm seeking. The kiosk thing is the one that we have been discussing and you were pricing for budgetary purposes. It's very useful as an informational kiosk. And again, because there's plenty of panels, there's a lot of opportunity to put photographs up. There's a lot of opportunity to add artwork and artwork that could span more than one panel. Some artwork, if it were panoramic or something that the artist thought that they wanted to do, you could go all 4 sides, for example, possibly. There are a variety of detailed decisions that get made probably with each park as to what's informational and what's photographic and what's artistic and what that layout is. But the column itself is, like I say, it's so functional that in one sense it's a little bit sterile. And that's why I was thinking about the red roof on that particular thing. And that actually, and particularly if you were to have art, metalwork or other artwork on the, if you were to have a different cap on that, it actually helps. Well, first of all, it would help from a distance. In this particular case, the colors, the way in which we might use colors, help provide eye magnets. But that roof and maybe some metal artwork or possibly wind vanes, but metal artwork kind of sounds intriguing, and that would be probably commissioned. But something that, in other words, blends. I guess my thought is a little more artistic appearance than just this particular, this exact kiosk design. Yeah, and I'm actually intrigued by it looks like it's this particular kiosk. It actually looks like it's metal, and it looks like it's hollow. And you'll notice between the panels vertically, it looks like there's air holes, and I don't know what that's for actually. But anyway, that's kind of what my impression is that those are actually ventilating holes. So that to me almost looks like probably a metal structure on a base. It looks I don't think they're using plywood, for example. That's probably
yeah, no, I think it's metal. I think if you look at the top, the little holes to me they look like they have red inside.
Yeah.
I think that this might light up at night.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what
Otherwise you wouldn't see it. Yeah, maybe.
Actually, speaking of lighting, if I don't know that that's indeed a requirement, but in point of fact, the roof structure from the other design on top of this as the way in which to actually shield in some respects the panels wouldn't necessarily be a lot of sunshade. It would be more of maybe rain protection. But I see the roof in this particular case, that red roof, not so much functionally, but that and the decorative on the top as something that makes it more attractive in an artistic sense. I don't know how anybody else feels, but to me, I get, the reason why I started thinking of that is the following. There's one other one, if I may. I
Sure.
mean, obviously, you haven't been working on this as a budget, but it's on the first page, it's the one with the metallic arch. It's a single panel, it's tallish with
Yeah.
scrolled metalwork and an arch.
Hmm.
So it was actually the first of the 9 pictures, or the 9 candidates.
Maybe I'll just open the last presentation here.
I don't know, John, do you know the one I'm referring to?
Yeah, I do.
What's your reaction to that one?
I'm still actually, well, it's got some virtues, but I still like this vertical kiosk that we're looking at. My only concern is that it doesn't give any indication of height. It appears to be fairly high.
Probably about 8 feet. I'm by my estimate.
That's what I was thinking. It would seem to me that that might be too high for a lot of viewers. But I actually kind of like that simple design, especially if we can play with the colors.
Yeah, a way to, I think I agree, maybe from a viewing point of view, because it's actually the bottom row would be pretty low for reading.
Yeah.
And the top row would be pretty, maybe a modification of that, which would actually change the number of panels. If we actually used a 3 high, but that there's elevate, as opposed to a full panel height in terms of elevation, but in other words, that there was a base that maybe about half, like, so, anyway, I do like the first one on the left, but if we go back to the kiosk that you've been working on for budget purpose, I like this. I actually, in an After Effect. Now, one of the changes that I would make is that I would, on that arched one, is I would have less.
This one here?
Yeah, I would, for example, that one, I would basically I would leave the arch and let that be very artistic, and then I would take the space, all of the space in the remainder of that particular, model, and make those, basically large panel, and maybe a large panel and a lower panel, and or some other combination, maybe half and half, and work out where maybe half of it is art and half of it is informational or something. It's the shape and contours, I mean, it has a delicacy about it, and it has a really nice appearance to it. But like I say, there's a lot to be said about the column in terms of that it's versatile. But this one with this arch,
did we decide we needed lighting, or?
I think we do need writing, and on this one, the one, the arch that you're talking about is in Central Park in New York, and it does have interpretive material on the back side of that frosted glass thing.
Yeah, I said lighting, not writing.
Oh, lighting. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about the third one, John? The third one?
The etching, no. I think we sort of, for a lot of different reasons, I think we eliminated that one, although actually it is very effective. No, going back to the first page.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the second one?
Page. Is this the one you're?
No, yeah, that one.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
It is. And if you look,
Yeah,
you'll notice that the etching, what's the word? It frames the actual ruins in the back there. So it really, it's very clever. It's very innovative, but I'm not sure that we have very many ruins in Milpitas at this point, other than me.
Yeah, it's an outstanding solution for the way it's being used here in this example,
Yeah,
because it shows what that ruin would have looked like if it were not a ruin.
yeah.
It's nice though.
Something like that would work, I think, for Main Street. You know, if you're trying to show what
Yeah.
the building used to look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then we're going to go back with the original, right? This the one in the middle here.
This is where we were leaning. And of course, all of these are just what we're trying to do is we're trying to see kind of what you might like so that we can get pricing. Because if we take it out, if it's going to be artist designed, so for example, if you do want some sort of a topper on it, like this one has, that would be an artist designed thing. And I think we would need to, you know,
More costly.
we'd have to get quotes and everything from people, but I think figuring that piece of figuring that piece of it into the artwork from a price standpoint and repeating it throughout the parks as kind of a visual marker that here's the information marker to learn about the history. So yeah.
I give a counter to Joe's argument that the one on the right has some benefits. It sort of reminds me a little bit of the French kiosks on every street corner where you post all your notices.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see that being a bit of a challenge here in Milpitas. You know, lost cats and you name it.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, true.
Tape right over our artwork, huh?
It's true though. I guess I see it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Whereas the one in the center there, I think looks a little more formal, and I think people would think twice before they would stick a poster on it.
Good point.
Well, a suggested modification of that center column, that center picture, is 3 rows, but with a base that comes up about half of that first panel. In other words, it's just a base. And then that brings the 3 rows down. And there's the second row comes down half a row, if you will, and the top one comes down half. So it turns out that they're now in a better straight on eye position.
Yeah.
It's so, you know, you read basically, and then if you throw a roof on it, okay, which I think would be interesting, some kind of a roof, that would be an interesting decorative element. So the key is that that actually there's then, in terms of fabrication, you're talking about 12 panels, not 16. And the structure, and whether like I say in that other design, the structure would have been 4 high. Well, you know, so the point is that the structure actually doesn't really change in terms of cost, or maybe actually drops a little bit, and then the current design, in other words, as photographed, because it would be shorter on the one hand, shorter by about a half a panel, shorter probably about 1.5 feet, and then a roof on top of it. So in a way, the costs might wash out in some respect, but you know, I think probably 12 panels probably are plenty adequate, actually, even generous, but you know, but it allows a lot of opportunity for art and a lot of opportunity for photographs. There's a lot of stuff on the Alvisa Adobe kiosk, and we're not, I don't think at this point, but I would make the following observation about the Alvisa Adobe kiosk, and that is the number of, there's actually, as a matter of fact, there it's typically about 4 or 5 panels high, and they're actually different sizes of panels, and they're actually more rectangular and wide. But they're actually doing a complete family history up at Alvisa Adobe. And so they're using a lot of panels to do that. And I would say probably typically, if we're not trying to do that in the parks, where we're actually showing, if you will, multiple generations, numerous generations, because that's what's happening up at the Alvisa Adobe. There's numerous generations that are being shown there, as well as having art, quote unquote art, interspersed, separating the panels. So 16 panels may be more than we need in the typical park.
So, Joe, I got a couple of comments. My thought was that it may be that each side could actually have different sized panels, depending on whatever script you've decided you want or need on the kiosk. And the second thing, Tegan, from my vantage, my second point, I think, is that we're right in the midst of Silicon Valley. We have, I would say, at least 24 reputable fabric manufacturers that make the skins for computers, who probably would be very, very interested in doing this with a finish, a car type finish, car paint finish. So we could actually do this perhaps economically without really changing the design too much per kiosk, and get one of these organizations to actually work with us, Tegan. You don't need an artist to do that. So I don't, it's just a thought. I think it's got to look finished. It's got to look professional, and potentially contemporary, I guess. But I don't think we would necessarily need an artist to be involved in that process.
No, you'd certainly need to have enough of the panels created by professional artists or folks who were qualified in order for this to qualify for public art funds, because right now your public art fund is restricted in how you use it.
No, I understand, Tegan, but to me, the first step would be having a unit X, whatever we describe it as, where the narrative, the historical narrative, and the art would be displayed. And what I'm essentially saying is that frame, whatever it finally is, could be done, I think, at a relatively competitive price, not by anybody, to me, it would seem that we have the resources right here in the Valley.
Sure.
And it's really the artwork and the historical narrative that we would need to focus in on, the panel sizes, the shapes, etc. That's my thought.
So do you think?
Go ahead.
Do you think the little red squares are light up at when the sun goes down or something?
I think that's probably true on that one that's in front of the theater in Littleton, Colorado. So yeah, I think that there's some sort of lighting inside, it looks like to me. Otherwise, I guess they could be painted insets, but they definitely look red in the picture.
Yeah. So I think that when it starts to get dark, it would just, it's not open anyway, right?
Yeah, we're not as
concerned. Most of the parks are not open, but they have hours in which attendance in effect is restricted, I guess, by ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're not as worried about lighting these pieces as we might be if it was on a downtown street or something.
Okay. Well,
if you put a roof structure on it, I mean, if we thought, if it was generally agreed, and I'm not saying that it is, but if it were generally agreed that lighting would be nice. You know, one of the things that you could do is you could put a solar panel on the roof, and put like four down lights
Yeah.
underneath on the bottom side of the roof pointing down, and illuminate each side of the column, for example. And that actually probably wouldn't be, I'm not saying it costs nothing. I'm not saying that at all. But
That's that would be nice.
but it'd be a way in which to it might be a way in which to make it really interesting as the lighting is diminishing in the evening, you know, when you're getting into dusk, but not into full darkness, for example, you know, where somebody might be hanging out at the park with their kids or something, really till, although actually probably most families, they wouldn't stay that late because they're going to go home and feed the kids and things like that. Although on a hot summer evening, they might come back out into the park where it's cooler. Let the kids play until it's where the light is starting to fail.
I see.
So what I'm hearing from you is
oh no, I'm sorry. I was just thinking about like what John was saying, you know, something to make it more artistic, artsy, instead of just, you know, the walls with panels on it. I'll make it a little more, I don't know, a little more artsy. That's just a thought.
You know, the other possibility is that maybe if you're going with the 2D art being the thing that we're paying for here, the pictures, you know, maybe we do have a metal shop fabricate the thing, and you have wind vanes or, you know, weather vanes or something that is attached to the top that is done by artists, as opposed to done by this metal shop fabricating.
Okay, that sounds.
So, I mean, there's different ways to approach it, and frankly, I don't know, you know, right now. I mean, maybe there are some artists out there that would be, you know, in our budget. I think it's going to be high to have an artist do it, but I think that having a regular metal crafter who's not necessarily considering themselves to be an artist would probably be the most cost effective.
Yeah, I think trying to put a weather vane on top that's done by an artist to validate the product as supported by the art fund, I don't think is an issue. To me, if this is done by you know, an organization that does metalwork as a, you know, as a normal course of business, it still presumably is part of the artwork, and you could be argued is supportable by the art fund. I honestly think that if there's another way of looking at this too, there's a likelihood that that same company would love to have their name somewhere stenciled on the bottom in small print, very small print. And the cost becomes a little less than it would be if we have to go, you know, I don't know. It seems to me that there have to be ways, Tegan, that we could do that. I was thinking Joe's comment, suggestions, and I like most of them, not all of them. But it seems to me that we're getting close to a way of describing something that we sort of like. And I'm wondering whether we could find somebody that could actually mock up a mark for us that would demonstrate exactly how that would appear. If there was somebody within the city that would be willing to jump at that. We used to do that for most of our artwork before we actually went into it. Tegan, what do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes, I think what it sounds like we're trying to do is we're trying to get information together to get a quote for the fabrication of the frame, the structure, if you will.
Yeah.
And you're wanting to get some sort of a sketch to
Or
go
a
with
model. Or we
Well,
used to
model.
get those. We used to get the models of
Oh,
everything.
a maquette. Yeah, okay. So a maquette, you would get that from the artists. We used to pay we pay artists to make maquettes for us. I suppose a metal shop might make a maquette for you.
Sure.
But for a price, you know. So just like the artist would make it for a price.
Unless we asked them to do it without a price.
Yeah, or
Well,
I
you
think John was
could,
thinking
but-
just in terms
I
of,
mean, you know, it's worth a try.
I think
Mhm.
what I guess I'm trying to do, maybe I'm too pushing. Is I'm trying to move us along in one direction. We can always redirect or go take a different fork in the road later on.
Mhm.
But you know, it's going to be very hard if we keep looking at all of these ideas and we don't move along. I think we're not going to get very far very fast. It seems to me if we could find a way to create a maquette or something like that and say, oh yes, now you know, now we've got something three-dimensional. You know, we could, I don't know. And I'm assuming that very soon we should be able to meet in person, shouldn't we?
Very soon we should.
Be able to meet in person.
Yes, I would hope soon. I don't know quite when, but I do think we need to kind of move along because I know IT has the and several of you have the PRCRC meeting after this. So what I'm hearing is that it would be nice to try to figure out a maquette of some sort so you can see a structure. I'm hearing that you basically like the tower that we were talking about last time, but with some modifications to not have as many panels and to perhaps have some sort of a special topper that makes it a little bit more artistic and a little bit more visible. So, okay, that sounds like great information. Thank you. I wanted to, let's see here. What am I sharing? Am I sharing the right screen? How come this is not advancing?
Tegan, what's your slide number 8? Number 7 we've.
Well, I'm trying, have you seen this one? This is the parks
Yes,
again.
saw that last time.
Yeah, so you're seeing it again because we haven't prioritized these parks yet. So we're sort of back to the same problem that we need to prioritize them. So I just wondered if you had some chance to think about these 19 parks and look at the little map, the bicycle map, and come up with, you know, some idea of what you might want to go for first.
Well, broadly, I would say go for the ones that have actually already been upgraded as opposed to ones that have yet not upgraded. So,
Good point.
So that right away sorts, you know, it reduces the list from 19 to a different list. And I've taken photographs of, actually, let me see. I'm just looking at the list. I may have taken photographs of every one of these parks.
Oh, okay.
Great.
And in particular, my photographs would show which have new play equipment. For example, Creighton Park is one of the newly designed parks.
Creighton is the newest all over. Yes, it's the whole park has been redone.
Yeah. So for example, I would call it a, you know, probably in the first phase list, for example, because I know that one has been done. Bob McGuire Park is also a fairly new park. Rathbone is, where's Rathbone here? Oh, Augusta's there. Okay. Rathbone Park, that's a fairly new park. Ben Rogers is not, and I'm trying to think just in my head whether Ben Rogers has had the play equipment redone or not. I'm not certain of that. A park that I know that has not had the play equipment redone is John Sinnott Park in the toward the bottom on the right. That one, that park has not undergone transformation. Some parks don't have play equipment, and therefore we're not candidates. Oh, another one that's had an upgrade in play equipment would be the Higuera Park.
Yeah.
That park was closed for more than a year in its upgrade, in this recent upgrade. So some of these parks they've gone through the major upgrade, and it's the ones that we haven't done that are the future candidates. And so I would certainly focus on the ones that have already been upgraded, and this would be the kind of the finishing touch to the overall park upgrade, is to add the new markers.
I would agree, Joe. I think, didn't we last time, didn't we say that we would try a few first? Do we really need to prioritize all of them at this point?
No.
Why don't we pick on 5 as the first target parks? I can give you my 5.
Okay. Joe just gave me his 4. What are your 5?
Okay, Creighton, Bob McGuire, Jose Higuera, Sunny Hills, and Murphy.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in on any of them?
Yeah, Murphy would be okay. I'm trying to recall whether the play area at Murphy has been upgraded or not, but it doesn't. I don't think that's necessarily important in that case. By the way, John, Murphy already has art at the south end. Did you know that?
I'm just trying to, where on earth?
South, you know where the parking lot is at the south end?
Yeah.
Okay, when you park, and you know where the tree grove is when you turn around and look north?
Yeah.
Okay. To the right, when you're standing like in the middle of the parking area, turned around looking north into the grove, if you turn to the, you have paths that go on the right side and the left side.
Right.
Okay. There's a whole art. There's a whole art thing. There's 3 poles.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's over on the right as you go to that first on the right walkway park.
Right.
So parks that I know of that do have some kind of an art element is Hillcrest Park. Hillcrest Park is just south of Ben Rogers Park. Okay, and Hillcrest, they have an artistic bench that's really interesting. That's all decorated in tile and so on and so forth. And there's an abstract piece by Martha Smith and Shannon Moore Jervis. Alvisa Adobe has, they called it the water tower. The kiosk that's in the Alvisa Adobe Park is called the water tower that we've been referring to. There's a sundial in Augustine Park that was an art commission thing, I think.
Right. That one, though, Joe, that one I know there has been some focus on that park in terms of, I guess, upgrade. And I know it's part of the Art Commission's charter to work on something in that area. Tegan, correct me if I'm wrong.
Starlight Park, the one across from Spangler School. Okay, there's what's called a Starscape bench there. It looks like a star, 5-pointed star. Oh, and actually looks like a bronze plaque, and the star is all artistically decorated with, and I assume it's painting. And
Which
there's
park?
a plaque
Starlight.
embedded in the cement. Pinewood
Joe, are you
Pinewood Park has
thinking
what's called the green tree. We have to quit for timing, don't we?
Yeah, I was just wondering, are you thinking that we should focus on parks that don't have any art right now?
That might be, and actually, yeah. Yeah, and Cardoza Park has something at the north end. It kind of has a soccer motif.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of, yeah, I would definitely go, I would suggest parks that have been upgraded and
Mhm.
parks that at this point simply haven't had some project with the art commission in some sort of decoration. I think that's probably a guideline, but I'm very open to what people generally would like to do.
Crystal, you've been awful quiet. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I like the idea of the renovated parks,
Mm-hmm.
so Sunny Hills.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely support the majority.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, Crystal.
Okay. Well, good. That gives us a little list of the ones that you are most interested in. And let's see here. What have I got going on? Let's see what slide I'm on. What is this one? Okay, so we talked about the ones with the trails. And so the trails, it sounds like, are less of an interest right now, whether they fall on a trail. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let me see. Murphy's on a trail, isn't it? It's not the Hetch Hetchy Trail, but Murphy,
Whoops.
Brown, Senate, that's a trail that goes from, I guess, getting my Yellowstone, no, it goes all the way, almost all the way to Landess, doesn't reach quite as far south as Landess, and in the north end, it's Yosemite.
Mhm.
Murphy begins at the north end, and Senate is the most southerly park that's north of Landess, yeah. So that's a section, that's a trail. And then of course there's the big trails, the Hetch Hetchy Trail.
Mhm.
There's a connection there with Sunny Hills too, right?
Mhm.
Yes, Sunny Hills is on the Hetch Hetchy Trail.
Right.
Yes. And actually, and that trail, by the way, in terms of the park system, that trail actually goes all the way to, let me see, it's beyond Jacqueline, getting my thoughts. It actually starts to approach Calaveras. So from way north in Milpitas to almost getting to Calaveras.
Mhm.
There's a whole park series there that you can actually walk your way through from north to south.
Mhm. Okay, well, it sounds like we have some thoughts on which parks. Thank you guys for narrowing that down for me. Then last time we had talked about funding, and I just wanted to really quick touch on that and see if there's anything else that anybody's thought of that we should add to this list as potential funding options.
Well, the one I brought up, I think getting
Sponsorships.
a local business
Uh-huh.
participate in some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Where are we at on the Milpitas Recreation and Community Services Foundation?
So they've had their first meeting, and we are in the process of getting everything together to unveil to the world in the fall.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this funding options to go to it's going to be hard right now still, because everybody's still getting back on their feet, and
Sure.
you know, just businesses just coming back. And so public art fund.
No, Becky.
Oh my, it might be our only way. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we can all keep our eyes and ears open, and as we come up with other things, we can add those to the list. So
Okay.
For next steps, obviously, it sounds like we're not quite to here yet to a recommendation to go to the two commissions. I think we need a follow-up meeting of this body with more information on the fabrication costs potentially. And then
It seems to me to go to them, you know, we have to develop some kind of piece of artwork, a sketch or something.
well, yeah, I mean, your charge is really to not design the artwork. Your charge is to come up with where you're going to place the artwork and gather enough information that we can issue a call for artists. So you don't have to have selected, you know, finalized a design or anything. You wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, but if you're proposing a budget, the budget is basically defined by whatever design we adopt.
Yes and no. It's, you know, when we do public art projects, we're typically taking a guess as to what we think it will cost and then seeking that funding and going out and seeing what artists what they'll present for us for that price.
Okay.
So I think in this case, what we want to do is be able to go to council and say, we think it's going to cost 10,000 a piece or whatever we come up with, and we want to do 4. So we want you to allow us to use 40,000 out of the arts fund, you know, next year for the process for getting this started. And, you know, maybe it's not all from the art fund, maybe, as, you know, John's talked about sponsorship, maybe there's other things that we can come up with and we can say, you know, we want 35,000 from the arts fund and 5,000 from this other source or something like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Tegan, but I just would take a different tack. It seems to me that when the Art Commission, if we're going out for a call to artists,
Mm-hmm.
the commission had actually sat down and somewhat defined what we expect and what we really feel the community would like.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me coming to the Art Commission with a vague idea of something is probably you're going to go through the same process with them, except me, that we're right now going through. So that's my concern. To me, maybe I'm wrong, but this subcommittee is basically saying, yeah, this is what we should be doing, and here's a general idea, and this is a general cost of what we're doing, rather than say, you know, this is a call to artists, and we're going to send it out, and this is what we think it should be, and so on. I just feel I would feel more comfortable, rightly or wrongly, more comfortable saying this is what we recommend.
Right, that's what you are doing in this group, is recommending something, because you need both commissions to vote on it.
Yeah.
And agree to the concept, and then we can proceed with gathering the information, doing the call for artists that we need. Realistically, based on what you guys are discussing right now, the Arts Commission is probably going to be making a call for the panels, not for the structure.
Yeah.
But the structure will be something that we would probably, you know, run by, it's probably something that we actually bid out if we're not seeking it from an artist, and we would come back and say, you know, here are the organizations that have expressed interest, and here's what they've got. And, you know, both commissions would probably look at it, my guess would be. And then we'd get this frame thing, and then we'd know from the frame, okay, now we're ready to go for artists. We know the frame will hold this many panels. This is the size.
Okay. I guess given that example, the commission would be not in any way concerned about the cost. Is that right? I mean,
Well, I do think that I think both commissions are ultimately recommending this to council.
yeah,
This body right here is recommending to the commissions. So the
Right.
Art Commission does need to be comfortable with the fact that the frame, whatever the frame is going to cost X dollars.
yeah,
If it helps, it's not a lot different than if we went to council and we said we wanted to, you know, purchase one of those pop-up frames so that we could have an art and wine show. And this is how much the frames will cost.
yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, so that's why I feel that we need to be a little more specific about what we're recommending to the Parks and Rec and the Arts.
Mhm. Mhm.
I guess what I'm saying, I guess I don't know whether there's an urgency in terms of getting this in front of the council before the end of June, but it
I
seems.
don't think it's possible at this point.
Okay, so then we do have a little time, and to me, it would be better if we finished our homework before we actually go to the two commissions. That's,
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, I'm the one that has most of the homework here. So how about I'll look at the calendar and let you guys know some potential dates, and probably see how far I can get on the homework and try to get that done before I even schedule a meeting for us. Because
I'll be happy to search around, see if I can find a local fabricator that.
If you have some fabricators who you'd like to recommend, so that we can have you know, have people at least give me a ballpark on how much it might cost to build something like this.
My past is, you know, way back now, so I'm not sure how many of these people are still living, but I will certainly pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice.
Yeah, so we're not getting a bid right now. We're just getting kind of quotes to see how much stuff costs. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Well, thank you all. I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are going on to the next meeting, I wish you a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.